good morning. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your nonprofit origin story?
Well, I'm Zoe Metcalf, and it's great to be here. Love the nonprofit Hive. I got my start as a fundraiser, as I'm sure many people do, as a volunteer in the community. So I came up through the junior league and did a lot of fundraising in that capacity. And then just you become involved in the community when you're involved in an organization like that. So people hear that you can do this or that. And so then they ask you to do this or that for them.
Yeah.
So just did a lot of volunteer work and lived in a small community. And it was relatively easy to be pretty visible in that community. And that was in the 90s. So that's how I spent my 90s. And in the early 2000s, I went back to school and finished my bachelor's degree. And then a position opened to be the executive director of the local community foundation. And I applied for that job, and that was the dream job. And so that's how I got my professional start. And I've worked in the community foundation setting. I've worked for hospital foundations, university foundations, health science center, so medical school kind of foundations, and and uh, and now in the theater, in a professional theater, nonprofit theater, and that's how I got here.
I love it. I love it. And that's such a breadth of nonprofit.
Right. It's
You're covering off a lot of bases there. You know, I mean, with that kind of experience and across so many parts of nonprofit, like what are challenges that you've seen kind of in each of those settings?
Well, people, I think, at least it's true for me. I can't speak for the world, obviously, but I think that people who are naturally gravitate towards the nonprofit setting are helpers, nurturers, doers, people who are passionate about social change, people who love people,
Yeah.
people who see themselves, who understand that everyone, uh, even the tiniest action, has a ripple effect and makes a difference. And so those people are attracted to the nonprofit world, which is magnificent. I mean,
Yeah.
the world would not
We
go,
need we need them, right? We need them so badly.
the world would not go around without them. We're often willing to, as you know, we're often willing to work for less than a market rate because it's the cause. So um, what I have found in nonprofits over the course of my long career is that they rely heavily on volunteers or individuals who are sort of willing to accept the organizational status quo in service of the mission. The mission is key. The mission is all. And so then what you find after you've been doing this for a long time and you feel like you've reached a place where, okay, now I'm a professional at this, you see what's missing. What would make your work so much easier? And gosh, there's so many things that would make your work so much easier. Uh,
Yeah.
but it requires investment. It requires internal investment and internal commitment to making the necessary investments, taking a long-term view, investing for the future, putting the infrastructure in place to make things work beautifully, diversifying your revenue streams, making those investments to make that happen,
Yeah.
and investing in your staff. Um, there's a great lack of that, as you know,
Yeah.
and that's for a variety of reasons. Certainly, it's a lack of organizational resources, but also, even when there are the resources, it's maybe a lack of understanding of how fundraising actually works and what makes it work and
Yeah.
how to do it right, how to share your message in the most impactful way, how to connect with the people who want to help you, who want to help you help others. I think a lot of nonprofits do themselves maybe a little bit of a disservice, in that when they're recruiting board members, for example, they're afraid of being told no. They need the board members, so they soft pedal what the commitment is, what the need is. And so they say, we only meet 4 times a year, and we'd like you to come to our annual fundraiser. And, it's really not, you can manage this. It's not, it's not going to take up too much of your time. Huh. Is that true? Is that to the ultimate benefit of the organization? Probably no.
No.
You need the same boards that Fortune 500 companies have. You need business people, you need people who understand how to make money. Not for profit does not mean no profit.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, it's so many things. And as you're like listing some of
12
the
million.
different requirements out, you look at that and go, like, there are little tiny teams of like 2 or 3 people that somehow have to know copy and fundraising
Right.
and how to run a business, because there is business infrastructure behind this. And you're right. I think you do, as you get higher in your professional career, you kind of go, I should I should be able to have the support I need, right? And when that continues to not happen, and we're living in a poverty cycle all the time,
Right.
with a lack of resources being one of the biggest poverty items, you know, what happens? What happens to the mindset of these helpers and doers who are being like, feel like sometimes I know I've heard a few people go, I just feel like I'm prevented from doing what I know needs to be done, but I'm being held back from it. And like that hurts after a while, I think.
Yeah. And then, burnout's a big topic in the nonprofit arena right now. And so you find yourselves then with uh, a profession predominantly staffed by incredibly passionate, incredibly talented, oftentimes young people, because the people who've been at it for a long time are just tired.
Exhausted. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they say, I'm still passionate about people. I'm still passionate about cause and mission, but I'm going to find another way to serve that passion. And I'm going to move on from this. And so you lose an incredible amount of organizational history and professional knowledge and history and perspective
Absolutely.
when a more seasoned, let's say a more seasoned, I don't want to say older, but a more seasoned fundraiser leaves the profession. A more seasoned nonprofit professional leaves the profession because they're weary.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Weary is a good word. I like that. Weary, right? Like,
weary.
it doesn't mean that with the right tools and the right supports, that person can't come back, right? It just, I don't think many people are looking at it and going, well, it hasn't changed in this many years that I've been doing it. What are the chances it's about to change
Right.
tomorrow? Right. So, and I love your conversation about expectations of board members, because I think there's a lot of in nonprofit where it's like expectations is X, reality is this. And that like dissonance between the two is so problematic.
Well, and I really just encourage the nonprofit community to be thoughtful in your board recruitment and to be incredibly transparent. The more seasoned I become, the more that I realize that everything is connected. And so the advice, my personal mantras about relationships and the way to live my life certainly stray over into my work. Say
Yeah.
what say what you need. Be honest about what your needs are. And if you can't meet your needs, it's kind of a no fault world. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that the environment that you're in is bad or the people are bad, or it just means this is what I need. This is what I know will make me happy. This is what is true about the world. And I can't necessarily have that here. And so when you're engaging with anyone in your professional community, with potential board members, be honest about what you need, and be transparent about what the reality is. Um, I need you to participate with this organization because I need your financial savvy. I need you to hold us accountable. I need you to help us set a long-term vision and then keep us accountable to working towards that. I just think it would help nonprofits so much, to just say what you need.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. Instead of sugarcoating it a little bit, right? Like I think, yeah,
Yeah,
maybe part of the challenge too is like psychologically people who are helpers and doers are not trying to put other people out. They're like, I kind of got this because I'm a helper and a doer. I do that all the time where I'm like, I got it, it's fine, I don't need your help.
yeah,
But but soft lobbing,
right.
when you do need help and not being honest has its own repercussions. And I don't think nonprofit can afford that at this point, right?
No,
There's a that social proof and trust is super low. So I think if anything, swinging towards like very transparent honesty about what's required to changing the world is going to require something. It
right.
is, and it's going
Yeah,
to have a cost, right? And I think, it shouldn't be a cost bared just by the people in the work.
right.
Everyone should understand exactly what that cost is.
Right, right. Everyone wants impact. Impact's important. And impact is so possible. The world has changed.
Yeah.
People have changed it. It's possible, but in every other sort of sector, things that used to take years now take days.
Yeah.
So let's catch up. Let's catch the nonprofit sector up. Let's actually change things. Let's
Yeah.
actually demonstrate impact in a short period of time. I often say that here in the US, we've been waging a war on poverty since the 50s, and
Well,
we're still waging it. And it's not better necessarily.
yeah.
Uh, so
So
we've
gotta shake it up. Time to
yeah.
shake some stuff up, right?
Yeah, let's look at that and see what can make that story different, that story roll forward differently. So,
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to shift it over and now favorite part of working in the nonprofit space. What have you loved about this work?
oh, well, I find it to be a good space for people who are creative thinkers who think outside the box. It's a good opportunity. I've had several opportunities to build something from the ground up, to create something where there was nothing. Now, my activities in the nonprofit space have centered around fundraising,
Yeah.
but opportunities to put a fundraising structure into place where there was none previously, and
Yeah.
um, for all of the reasons that we've already talked about, uh, it's possible to find a role where somebody says, what I really need is somebody to do these 17 things, and you say, I can do all of that.
That's
And
which is wild, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
but you've got your cape on and you've got your wand, and you are going to make everything happen. You're going to uh, take the science of fundraising and implement the whole thing, soup to nuts. So it can be fun from that perspective. Uh, it certainly has been fun for me. There's a great sense of accomplishment when you do the right things right and it works.
Yeah.
And
Ownership, right? Like
yeah,
there's a lot of ownership that can happen in the nonprofit space.
yeah, and when you see the impact, when you can see the impact, it's amazing. When you can demonstrate to someone else what the impact was, even more amazing. And when you can connect with someone who wants to help that impact along,
Yeah.
well, boom, I say a lot. So,
No, I love it. I love it. And I think, that's the same joy I very much get from putting two great humans in a Hive chat, right? And afterwards, when people are like, can't believe it, right? I had like 3 minutes after the Hive chat's finished, Jeffrey and Sean, who I put together because I was like, oh, this will be an interesting pairing. Jeffrey had posted about it on LinkedIn and sent
Yeah,
me a message. And I was like, now this is just like,
right.
can you not love that when you get that opportunity to connect a donor to
Sure.
your mission? And it's just like
Amazing.
amazing, right? Yeah,
Synergy. It's
exactly.
syner- serendipity. I love those words. Um,
That. I'm gonna write those down afterwards because you're gonna see a Hive post at some point where I go synergy and stuff, and I don't know why I got a thumbs down because it's a thumbs up instead. Um, okay, I love that. I love that so much. So one of my other questions is kind of focused in around like peer support in your work. Like, has it been critical to your work so far? What does peer support do for you in continuing to be able to serve the different missions you've been in?
yeah, it's very it's the validation of being able to talk to others who are doing the exact same work you're doing, not even exact, but they're in the same space, and
Yeah,
they understand why in the same 5 minutes it can be horrifying and amazing. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
you can think to yourself, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. And 5 minutes later, something happens and woo, it's everything is right with the world. So uh,
yeah,
in your own space, you certainly you probably, not always, but you probably have, let's say, other fundraising colleagues to talk to in your own space. But y- 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 you don't, you know, you're not sharing that with everyone that's working in the organization because everyone has their own things, you know.
absolutely.
We're not unique by any means. So everyone has their own things. And so to connect with people who understand your things is very cool. And from my Hive chat today, uh, just talking to uh, Sekito in Uganda,
Yeah,
I think I can connect him with a funder in the Dallas area who focuses on the work that he does in internationally. And if I could make that happen, like, wow, you know,
right,
I
right.
support, I can support somebody halfway around the world in a place I've never seen, but doing work that I recognize as incredibly valuable, and just a tiny action on my part might make a shift for him. So
Absolutely. He's doing incredible work. I just, and like just how he's connecting it all together and like how he's using his own education and his own skills. And you look at it, and I think that is what often I see as someone who connects with nonprofiteers all over the world is it is so interesting to watch all of these highly educated, well, like professionals in they've chosen a like a hardship. Like they know it's going to be hard and they know it's a challenge, but they're looking at it and going, I can change something
yeah,
here, right? Like it's amazing. It's
yeah,
amazing.
it is amazing. So I think peer support at you know, I've heard it said, particularly during the pandemic, that, but it remains true, and it was true before the pandemic. We are more connected to one another now than we have ever been at any point in history.
Yeah,
It's easier to connect. It's instantaneous. It's around the world. We are so connected and so lonely, so isolated,
like,
so so removed from humanity. And so this platform, this peer-to-peer connection, is incredibly helpful, not just for nonprofiteers but for everyone. That there should be a Hive for everyone.
I think we're all trying to, I hesitate to use the word tribes because that then sounds exclusionary when that's not the point, right? But I do think many of us need to kind of go like, here's my quirky niche over here of like, my art community, and here's the community that I still have from the small town I grew up in, and because they get it because they grew up there too. But
Yeah,
I do we're missing out on opportunities when we don't look at things we're passionate about, our work life. You know, as a mom, like I have my fellow moms. And if I didn't have them, I would have been a broken human. Like I couldn't have done it without them. Right. And I still need them now. Right. And so I think we all naturally gravitate towards building out our people. The
Yes.
hard part is we tend to look still geographically and forget that I would have never met you if not for the Hive, which is so wonderful because I love hearing not only from you when you've had a great chat, but I love hearing other people talk about you and
Oh,
how great the chat was, right? So like for me, it's just such a blessing to
yeah.
surround myself with other people who also want to connect.
Right.
And yes, sometimes it's a little bit of a leap. Like hilariously, Sasakito has not been on a chat for almost 2 months just because of how busy he was. So it is so cool when you show up, he shows up, and I'm like
Yeah.
that's so amazing, right? To
Yeah.
have that serendipity again, right?
Yeah.
Of putting
Serendipity.
putting two people in the right room at the right time, but you just have to take that leap to jump in the room in the first place.
Right. And it could have been any two people. Like it could have been, it could have been, and it has been.
Yeah.
I got something so valuable from my talk with Craig. I can't even tell you. And it was just a perspective on something I was struggling with that gave me the idea of how I might be able to move that issue forward. And that's happened every week.
Oh, yay.
I wouldn't miss this.
Oh, I love that so much. Well, you're a very, very valued member of the community. And in some ways, my next question is like, you know, what have you been getting out of doing these Hive chats and being a member of the nonprofit Hive? So if you have something additional, but I feel like you
Yeah.
already brilliantly answered so much of it.
Yeah, like just, the connections are invaluable. And there's I'm very seasoned. I'll be milestone seasoned this summer. I'm turning 60. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And every day I learn something new. And this is all a part of that. This is all a part of that. I am open to the world, I guess. And this helps me connect with the world. Um, Even before the nonprofit Hive, I had acquaintances that I talked to regularly in Scotland, Ireland, Australia, the UK, Brazil. Yet it, I want to learn. I want to
Yeah.
learn. I can. So there's always going to be a little nugget that is going to inform something that I'm doing, and so that's what I get from the Hive, the opportunity to continue that interest in what's going on in the world and how I might learn from it. So,
Love that. I love that so much. Well, I just want to be like you and I grow up too. So just a heads up, you may be like, I don't know what I want to be. And other people are like, well, I just want to be exactly like Zoe. Like, it's just because you're amazing. And honestly, been so appreciative of you just, you know, your belief that this is a thing, that this is moving forward. So thank you very much. And thank you for your time today, because this has been such a fun Hive chat. You know, I love doing these interviews, and I know we'd already connected one-to-one ourselves, but I always love when your name pops up as
well,
a person to match.
me
So
too. Thank you so much, Tasha.